What's going on, everybody? David Hanson here with another episode 2 of my MMA live chat. Hello, everybody. My name is David Hanson, and I am your host for the live chat. I'm really excited here to break down UFC Fight Night Overeem versus Volkov. We have a lot to talk about. A lot of fights happen tonight, and we can get into it. So what do I have to say about the fight? The overall card was great. It was I believe, a 12-fight card. Let's see, it was a 12-fight card. There was quite a few decisions on the card, but overall, it was a great card. We had to start off the preliminary card. We have Ode Osborne knocking out Jerome Rivera in 28 seconds of the very first round. Now, let me tell you, this was a very explosive knockout. He took the center of Ode Osborne took the center of the octagon, and obviously it was 26 seconds of the first round. So Ode Osborne took the center of the octagon and had Jerome Rivera backed up, and Jerome Rivera threw a kick, a left high kick to the head, and Ode Osborne caught the kick and threw a vicious left hook that put Jerome Rivera out on the canvas and followed it up with massive hammer fists until the referee jumped in to stop the fight in 26 seconds of the very first round. And that was a featherweight bout to kick off the preliminary card. And then we had another featherweight matchup. Timur Valiev defeating Martin Day by unanimous decision. A vicious one-sided performance by Timur Valiev. Unanimous decision, 30-25, 30-25, and 30-26. A phenomenal performance, still undefeated, and we will have to see what lies next for him in the featherweight division. Also, in the featherweight division, the preliminary card was the first 3 fights were featherweight fights, with the last featherweight fight of the card being Song-Woo Choi defeating Youssef Zalal by unanimous decision, 29-28, 29-28, and 30-27. And then in the women's flyweight division, we had Lara Procópio defeating Molly McCann by unanimous decision, 29-27, 29-28, and 30-27. It was a very emotional performance stated by Molly McCann after the fight, stating that she had left her gloves in the middle of the octagon after the fight, and the commentary team was speculating like, oh, is she done? Is she done after a dominant loss? But she had posted shortly after her loss on social media that she had left the gloves in memory for her father, and not to get it twisted, she still has lots more to go. How's everybody's night out there? What's going on? What's going on, Cody? All right. And then in the women's bantamweight division, we had Karol Rosa defeating Joselyne Edwards. Now, Joselyne Edwards coming into this fight was a talk about in the women's bantamweight division. Her being the first female female fighter from Panama, and coming off of a very nice win in her last one. She was hoping to get the win in this fight, but unfortunately, Karol Rosa had defeated her by unanimous decision in a pretty one-sided fight where Karol Rosa was just taking her down and using the wrestling to her advantage and really putting Joselyne Edwards in very uncomfortable positions, which she really had no knowledge on the ground. It looked like once she got on the ground and got put on her back, she didn't really know where to go and what to do. She was being put in dominant positions, and all she was needing to do was get the underhooks to be able to transition to get back up against the fence to make her way back up on her feet, but it was not good enough. In a catchweight bout at 160 pounds, due to a last-minute replacement, we had Devonte Smith defeating Justin Jaynes by round 2 doctor stoppage. Now, Devonte Smith really put it on Justin Jaynes, and he had a very extreme goose egg under his left eye. And the doctor had come in the middle of the round and stopped the fight because it was no longer safe to continue to fight with that eye. It could have been very dangerous. He could have lost vision. It would not have been a good thing if he would have continued to fight. And then to kick off the main card, we will move along to the main card. Now, the main card, there's a lot to talk about in this main card. We will get into the co-main event and the main event here in a bit. A lot to pick apart in the co-main event and the main event. But a couple other key performances would be Danilo Marques defeating Mike Rodríguez by technical submission by rear naked choke, 4:52 of round number 2. And he put him out. Mike Rodríguez was trying to fight the hands, and it just was not enough. Danilo Marques was able to get underneath the chin and put him out. A very good stoppage by the referee to be able to get that stopped once he noticed that the arm went limp. All right. And then a very important lightweight bout, a battle of the top 10s, as Beneil Dariush defeats Carlos Diego Ferreira by split decision, controversial split decision, but in any case, it was a win. And in the UFC lightweight rankings, coming into this fight, Beneil Dariush was sitting right at number 13 with Diego Ferreira sitting at number 10. Now, with this split decision win, this could very well put Beneil Dariush right into the top 10 of the deepest division in the UFC currently, the lightweight division. And in the top 10, we have some very dangerous matchups. And so it'll be very exciting to see what comes down the pipeline for Beneil Dariush. Before this fight, he was coming off of a nasty knockout, back and forth fight, getting a knockout win over Jakar Close. in outstanding fashion. And so now with this win over Diego Ferreira coming into this fight was ranked number 10. So I would assume Beneil Dariush would be put at least number 10, which would put him right in the top of the division at number 10. Now, whether or not they would just swap him back and forth or swap him out, put Diego Ferreira at number 13 and Beneil Dariush right up at number 10, there'll be some nice matchups down the pipeline for him with the likes of Paul Felder sitting at number 9, Dan Hooker at number 8, and then we have former champion Rafael dos Anjos sitting at number 7. Conor McGregor, after his loss to Dustin Poirier, is currently sitting at number 6. And then the top 5 of the stacked lightweight division is just murders row, ladies and gentlemen, with currently Khabib Nurmagomedov still sitting at the top of the kingdom in the lightweight division, holding that belt. We will be curious to see what happens to him and to see if he's going to vacate his belt and let the lightweight division go on. What's going on, everybody that has joined so far? Hit that like and subscribe button for more content, please. I would appreciate it. Anybody got any questions, concerns? Anybody check the fights out tonight? What did you guys think about it? All right, moving on. In the flyweight division, we had Alexandre Pantoja defeating Manel Kape by unanimous decision, 30-27, 29-28, and 29-28. Now, this was a very interesting matchup. Alexandre Pantoja was sitting at number 5 coming into this fight, and before this fight, he was in talks to be fighting for the belt. But with Davison Figueiredo having a split decision or a draw, I believe, a draw over Brandon Moreno, they will be matching up in the future for that rematch. And so with a win for Pantoja, I don't know if that would move him up in the rankings. Currently, he's sitting at number 5. So I don't know if that would move him up in the rankings or not. But we will have to wait and see. He had defeated the unranked Manel Kape. And so we will see come Tuesday morning where that puts Alexandre Pantoja. Now moving on to one of the last 3 fights of the night. Ladies and gentlemen, we have lots of exciting things to talk about in these last 3 fights. A lightweight matchup between Clay Guida and Michael Johnson. Clay Guida defeating Michael Johnson by unanimous decision, 30-27, 30-27, 30-27 across the board. Now, this fight was dirty. It was a dirty, dirty dogfight from the start of round number 1, from the start of the horn. It was a dirty dogfight. Clay Guida was just constant on the pressure and the pressure. He would not let up on Michael Johnson. Michael Johnson firing back with whatever he had, was tagging Clay Guida, but it just did not matter. Clay Guida was just he was a unhinged maniac in that cage tonight. He was pressing Michael Johnson forward. He was landing big shots. He was just taking him on the chin, and he was just going forward. A cut had opened up on the top of Clay Guida's head in round number 1, and there was blood going everywhere. And it started to not look good after Michael Johnson had landed a big shot. But Clay Guida was able to just press forward, keep on the constant pressure, make it a dirty fight, continuously pressure Michael Johnson up against the fence, taking him down several times and getting that unanimous decision win. All right. Now in the bantamweight division in the co-main event, enter the Sandman, Cory Sandhagen, defeating Frankie Edgar by flying knee in 28 seconds of round number 1. Holy smokes, this came out of nowhere. Now, Cory Sandhagen, this is actually his second straight spectacular knockout. Before this, he was coming off of a spinning wheel kick knockout over the former title challenger, Marlon Moraes. And then he had called out TJ Dillashaw, who's currently in the works of coming off of a suspension. And then he also called out the legend, former lightweight champion, Frankie Edgar. And from the get-go, Frankie Edgar immediately took the center of the octagon and started the patented Frankie Edgar pressure. But Cory Sandhagen, being just a unorthodox, awkward type of striker, being so long and lanky for the bantamweight division, I believe he stands at 5'11" for the bantamweight division, which is incredibly tall and lanky. Yeah, he stands at 5'11" for the bantamweight division, weighing in only 135 pounds with a 70-inch reach. Now taking on Frankie Edgar, he had a massive height and reach advantage over Frankie Edgar. And it showed immediately. And Frankie Edgar being only 5'6", there was a 5-inch height advantage, but only a 2-inch reach advantage coming in the hands of Cory Sandhagen. And what a phenomenal performance. It was literally a knee that came out of nowhere, straight up the middle. And it was just absolutely vicious. Jonathan, what's up? How's it going, man? Glad you could make it. How's everybody doing? All right. So what does this do for the bantamweight division? With this win, for Cory Sandhagen's win, Cory Sandhagen coming into this fight was sitting at number 2. And with a win over Frankie Edgar, it puts him at number 4. I don't believe that there would be anybody else that Cory Sandhagen would have to fight before getting a shot at the undisputed bantamweight gold. Now, Peter Yan and Aljamain Sterling have a date set coming up here in just a couple months, I believe March, where they will meet for the bantamweight gold, the undisputed bantamweight gold. And it would not put it past me if Cory Sandhagen would be next in line for either a rematch with Aljamain Sterling, or depending on the outcome of that fight, it'll either be Aljamain Sterling or it'll be Petr Yan for taking on Cory Sandhagen with that statement of a performance that Cory Sandhagen showed tonight, taking out legend Frankie Edgar, former lightweight champion. Frankie Edgar was actually coming down 2 weight classes for a bantamweight title run. But obviously he has a little bit more work to do, and he will have to take a back step and let these guys fight it out come March 6th. Petr Yan will be taking on Aljamain Sterling for the bantamweight belt. And then waiting in the wings will be Cory Sandhagen to take on the winner of that. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the main event. Alexander Volkov is a new top 5 heavyweight contender by taking out legendary Alistair Overeem. So now with this win for Alexander Volkov, that puts him right in the top 5 of the heavyweight division, and that will put him right into the murderer's row. He might have to take another fight. He might have to take the winner of Curtis Blades and Derek Lewis, or the winner of Jairzinho Rosenstrike and Cyril Gane. We will just have to see what comes down the pipe for Alexander Volkov. But what a phenomenal performance, knocking out Alistair Overeem in round 2 and just piecing him up. I mean, he tore Overeem's face apart. It was 2 minutes and 6 seconds of round number 2. Alexander Volkov now 33-8, taking out legendary Alistair Overeem by knockout. And Overeem's it was very apparent early on that Volkov was the taller, longer fighter. Volkov was able to keep him at range and just use his 1-2s to really just piece up his face. I don't know if his nose was broken, but his nose was definitely split right up here at the bridge of the nose. And there was when the referee stopped it, I mean, I believe it was the final sequence. If I would have to go back and rewatch it, but if I remember correctly, it was a body kick, and then just a 1-2 that just put Overeem on the canvas. And the referee coming up, Jason Herzog, being very undersized in that octagon with them 2 behemoths in there. I mean, there was well over 500 pounds wrecking around that octagon, with little Jason Herzog was just standing there. And Volkov hit Overeem with a nice 1-2, put him on the canvas, and Herzog jumped in, got Alexander Volkov out of the way, and Volkov, he knew what happened. Like, he knew that when he put him down, there was no need for a follow-up. It was a very dominant performance, taking out the number 5 Demolition Man, Alistair Overeem. So now, what does this do for the heavyweight division? Now we have heavyweight fights coming down the pipe, and the heavyweight champion is set to fight a rematch March 27th against the Predator, Francis Ngannou. Now, Francis Ngannou, it has been on a complete warpath since the loss to Stipe Miocic. Knocking out guys in not even a round. He gets in and he gets them out of there. So we have March 27th, those two heavyweights will be taking care of their business. Stipe Miocic will be taking on Francis Ngannou for the heavyweight belt in a rematch March 27th. And we will have to see what happens in that fight. But in the meantime, we have a top 10 heavyweight battle. We have several top 10 heavyweight battles coming up in just the next couple months. The heavyweight division will have a whole lot of clarity. Now, Jon Jones could definitely throw a wrench in this heavyweight division, depending on what happens with it out in March with the heavyweight title fight. But in the meantime, we had Alexander Volkov intruding into the top 5 of the heavyweight division tonight with the knockout over Alistair Overeem, excuse me. And then coming up Saturday, February 20th, we have number 2 ranked Curtis Blaydes taking on number 4 ranked Derek Lewis in the main event, Saturday, February 20th. UFC Fight Night, Blaydes versus Lewis. Now, this is a very much needed fight in the heavyweight division. It's also a very different fight. Curtis Blaydes being a very dominant wrestler, coming in, taking guys down, using ground and pound, just using his wrestling as his advantage, while Derek Lewis being the complete opposite fighter with being just a knockout machine. Now, Derek Lewis right now holds the record for the most knockouts in the heavyweight division. And so Curtis Blaydes is going to have to be very careful here. And then in the co-main event on that card, we have legendary Andre Pitbull Arlovsky taking on surging Tom Aspinall. Now this fight is kind of like a gatekeeper fight, in my opinion. Andre Arlovsky being the former heavyweight champion, giving the opportunity to 9-2 Tom Aspinall to come in and make a statement and put his stamp and put his name in the heavyweight division. Now, I don't believe Andre Arlovsky is ranked. And so, no, he is not ranked. So, with a win over Andre Arlovsky, I don't know if that would put Tom Aspinall in the top 10 or the top 15 of the heavyweight division. But, my lord, Tom Aspinall is a phenomenal striker. He is so fast for the heavyweight division. I really what's going on? Excuse me, what's going on, everybody? Let's join the show. Hit that like and subscribe button. Why is he not ranked? Now, if we're talking about Andre Arlovsky, he's not ranked because there's only 15 spots in the heavyweight rankings, and there's many more heavyweight fighters in the UFC than there is ranking spots. The rankings only go up to 15, and right now sitting in the number. Neither of these gentlemen are currently in the top 15. But that doesn't mean with a big win. Now, these rankings are set by media members. I don't believe they are put in by I don't believe they are controlled by the UFC. They are voted in. Let's see. rankings are generated by a voting panel. Let's see what we have here. Bear with me. All right. How are rankings determined? Rankings were generated by a voting panel made up of media members. The media members were asked to vote for who they feel are the top fighters in the UFC by weight class and pound per pound. A fighter is only eligible to be voted in if they're in active status in the UFC. A fighter can appear in more than one weight division at a time. The champion and interim champion are considered to be in the top positions of their respective divisions and therefore are not eligible for voting by weight class. However, the champion can be voted on for the pound for pound rankings. So with that being said, with a massive win in one of these heavyweight fights, we could see one of these gentlemen putting themselves right back into the top, or right into the top 15, and even put themselves in the top 10. Now, Andrei Arlovski is 42 with a record of 30 wins, 19 losses, and 2 no contests. Tom Aspinall being very green with only 9 wins and 2 losses. And I don't believe, let me look it up here real quick. Bear with me. Tom Aspinall is undefeated currently in the UFC. He, give me 1 second. I apologize. He most recently defeated Jake Collier in his debut. So, with a win over former heavyweight champion Andrei Arlovski, we could potentially see Tom Aspinall interjecting himself right into the top 15 of the heavyweight division. Now, Curtis Blades and Derek Lewis. Derek Lewis, being the knockout machine he is, he needs to be very careful not to be taken down by Curtis Blades. It has been shown before in Derek Lewis's past fights that he's not necessarily lost on the ground, but let's just say he prefers to throw hands more than wrestle around. So now this fight being very interesting with the number 2 and the number 4 ranked heavyweights in the world. And then the following week in the main event on February 27th, we have Jairzinho Rozenstruik, number 3 ranked Jairzinho Rozenstruik, taking on number 7th ranked Ciryl Gane. Now, this fight being very interesting because Jairzinho Rozenstruik is 11-1 in his MMA career, with his only loss coming by Francis Ngannou by vicious knockout. And Ciryl Gane being undefeated and 7-0 in his MMA career. This is a very big win. This would be a very big win for him if he were to be able to get past Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Now, you know, these guys, they're very, very similar. Only 2 years separates them in age. They're both the same height. They're both roughly around the same weight. And there's a 3-inch reach advantage in the hands of Ciryl Gane. Now, they're both very kickboxing heavy approach guys. So this is most likely going to be a stand-up fight. Now, Ciryl Gane, they're you both big, huge, nasty striking heavyweights. And it's going to be very interesting to see who steps up and rises to the occasion to interject themselves in potentially with a dominant victory. It could potentially put themselves right next in line for a title shot in the heavyweight division, depending on what happens with Jon Jones. Now, Jon Jones is suspected to be making his heavyweight debut in the near future. Now, what can we say about that? I've been following Jon Jones on social media and Instagram particularly ever since he had relinquished his light heavyweight belt and had stated that he wants to make the move to heavyweight, do it correctly, not use steroids, and really bulk up. And boy, has he done it. And he's right now sitting, the pictures he's been posting, he's sitting at about between 240 and 250, just completely shredded. So it's going to be very interesting to see what's going to happen when he makes his long-awaited heavyweight debut. It's been years that people have been talking about Jon Jones making his move up to heavyweight, since he's been so dominant in the light heavyweight division for 10 years. So and then speaking of the light heavyweights, March 6th, the following weekend after the heavyweights clash, we have UFC 259, Saturday, March 6th, where the light heavyweight belt will be defended as Jan Blachowicz puts it on the line to give Israel Adesanya a chance at double champ status. Will Blachowicz be able to take the O from Israel Adesanya? Or will Adesanya be able to rise up to the occasion to take out Blachowicz and claim the light heavyweight belt that Jon Jones once had? And if that were to be the case, now I don't know. I don't believe that Jon Jones, I mean, we'll have to see. You never say never, right? But I don't believe that Jon Jones is going to be coming back down to heavyweight. After seeing pictures and hearing what I'm hearing in the inner circle of the MMA media, it doesn't look like Jon Jones has a plan or a want to come back down to light heavyweight. So whether or not if Israel Adesanya picked the belt up, met Jon Jones at a catchweight, we would have to see. But that is yet to be determined. So what else do I have to say? I mean, it was a great card. I mean, amazing knockouts. I mean, what's coming down the pipe for the heavyweight division, the lightweight division, the welterweight division. Next Saturday, we have the welterweight belt being contested as Kamaru Usman puts it on the line and gives Gilbert Burns, former teammate and training partner, these guys have spent time in the training room together. And Usman is going to be putting it on the line, taking on Gilbert Burns in the main event for the welterweight strap. It's going to be a great fight. I'm very, very curious to see what those sparring sessions look like, because, you know, it's pretty well known that in the sparring room and in the training room, if one guy has the upper hand typically on the other guy, it typically means that that's how the fight's going to go. So neither guy is really showing their hand and really breaking character. Usman seems super, super confident, but so does Burns. And so it's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens next Saturday at UFC 258. And so we will have to see. Now, UFC 258, we have 5 fights on the main card starting next Saturday at 7 p.m. 4 fights on the preliminary card at 5 p.m. And then we have 3 fights on the early prelim card starting at 3:30 p.m. All at the UFC Apex for UFC 258 next week. I will be here giving you guys a breakdown next week. My plan is to have a breakdown video or a breakdown live stream out. It'll be a live chat type, just like this. It'll be on Friday night. We will be breaking down UFC 258 right here on this channel. We'll be breaking it down. There'll be more info to come on time for the breakdown video. And we will have to see who takes the welterweight strap home next Saturday at UFC 258. Ladies and gentlemen, I am so excited to share this breakdown here with you. I'm excited for next week for UFC 258. We have an exciting pay-per-view coming up, and I will catch you guys on the next stream. Thank you guys, and have a good night.